What's going on, y'all? KM Best here. Let's take a look at 4 decks that I played to great success on day 1 of this new meta. The nerfs to Professor X, Cannonball, and Hela sort of sent everything into flux, so I wanted to try out a small ball mid-range style deck. This is effectively Nokiless Noki. Now, you may remember the Noki list. It is a Loki-less Loki list. This is issuing even more of the Loki type cards like Quinjet, like Valentina, and instead we're just playing, a pile of good cards. This is just sort of, series 5 cards, the deck, right? This is, I'm going to throw my wallet at you and hope it gets the job done. I will say, of the decks that I'm showing you, this was actually my least successful. So for those of you who are anti-pay to win, I think you can at least feel good about that. When I played it, it felt like it was just okay. And I think that's a reasonable expectation. Typically, lists like this thrive in more established metagames where they can say, I am targeting thing X or thing Y here. And typically, Noki, and this list as Nokiless Noki, tends to end up a little bit good when Loki itself is bad, and bad when Loki itself is good. Right now, I think Loki is actually pretty good, which makes Noki not a great investment, in my humble opinion. The reason for this is the sort of dominant expectation coming out of the gate is there's going to be some like Annihilus, Cersei mid-range pile, and if there's a bunch of people playing like Annihilus and Cersei and good cards, my job as a guy who is trying to beat them is to just Loki them and get your like mid-range pile out of here. Like, I don't want to deal with your mid-range pile. I'm going to Loki you and then I'm going to play your cards and they're going to be better than you, right? So right now I will say that this kind of deck, the like Ravonna Series 5 pile, to me, I do think it has taken a notable hit with the loss of Professor X and the loss of Cannonball. I think the real question is going to be, what can we get in there to replace them? I opted for just more small guys, right? But what if the actual answer is Blue Marvel and Gilgamesh? We play like a Squirrel Girl, we play like a Dazzler. Suddenly we might be talking about that. Maybe the answer is Sasquatch and Mysterio and Mockingbird, and that's where we get the power from in a list like this. I'm not sure yet, but I do think there is more to explore with this core. So once I came to the conclusion that there was a lot of good things going for Loki, I started playing Loki, and this is the Loki list that I used, although I will say I think that there are several cards that are easily replaceable, including Miss Expensive herself, Thena. She was okay, but it wasn't like, oh my god, I need to have this. There's a lot of replaceability here. I don't think you necessarily need Hope Summers. I don't think you necessarily need Thena. I don't think you necessarily have to be playing Cable. I don't think you necessarily have to be playing Shang-Chi. You can play a bunch of different stuff in those spots, and I think all of it is basically fine. I have no real objections as long as you keep the curve relatively similar. It seems all of it would be fine if you asked me. I think that Loki is in a fairly good spot right now because other than me, I didn't really run into anyone playing Mobius. Spoilers for the later 2 decks. And I think that when Loki is able to face off against mid-range type decks, these Annihilus decks, these Cersei decks, you end up in a spot where as long as you're doing anything kind of reasonable in the first 2 couple turns of the game, you play Loki, you just have a better end game than they do. And I think that's a good spot to be in, especially now that those decks have added Cersei. Getting Cersei is another thing that can help you counterplay their Annihilus, right? So normally when you're Lokiing against an Annihilus deck, you're like, okay, if I get their Annihilus, I can do some crazy stuff when they Annihilus me. Now you're like, if I get their Annihilus or their Cersei, I can do some crazy stuff when they Annihilus me. So basically what's happening here is we're just playing a relatively large amount of good cards. I know people are going to ask for like specific replacements, but I'm going to be real with you. I think there's so much you can do to replace stuff here. If you want to play something instead of Thena, I don't know, Valentina seems totally fine to me. If you want to play something instead of Shang-Chi, Red Guardian or Nocturne, all those would be totally fine. If you want to play something instead of Hope Summers, any of the cards I mentioned, maybe a Mockingbird, a bunch of stuff is a fine option here. You can do a lot of stuff with this deck, right? So don't necessarily stress about the expensive parts of this deck. Really, honestly, this does strike me as a bit of a budget deck because when you look at it, right, the card you actually need to spend tokens or credits or crates, spotlight caches on, Kitty Pryde and Loki, and I'm pretty sure every other card that is expensive in here is negotiable in some way. Oh, except Elsa Bloodstone. Don't forget about Elsa Bloodstone. You definitely need her. Of the two, people look at Hope and Elsa as fairly equivalent. They are not equivalent. Like, this is a deck that drastically needs Elsa more than it needs Hope. Let's be clear about that. So, Hope, Elsa, Kitty, you're really going to want to prioritize the first two, and of course, Loki. So, after I noticed that I wasn't the only person who came to the conclusion that Loki was a good idea, and started playing a couple Loki mirrors, I was like, you know what might be a solid play here is to just go for a Pixie Mobius deck. And so that's the direction I wanted to go. When Loki is good, I have really enjoyed playing Pixie Mobius into him because it's just so hard to lose when you have a Mobius and they're Lokiing you. It's very hard to do. I think this deck has some real potential. I really do think, because like this is a very generic build, right? When we talk about what these decks look like when they're optimized, it typically doesn't involve this many one-drops. This is a very all-in Pixie deck. I was happy with it, but I definitely feel like maybe we could go towards the old Sentry Mockingbird Mysterio type thing that we do in here if we're going to continue to be a Pixie deck. The real draw is, I mean, Pixie is obviously a good card, but the draw of this strategy is that you get Mobius as both an offensive tech card and a card that is part of your combo. That is kind of the reason why you'd want to play a deck like this, and I think that's a very solid thing to do by basically every stretch of the imagination when other people are playing Loki, and other people were playing Loki and Mobius was good when that happened, right? Like, that is pretty much how I think of this list. The better Loki is, the better this is, because the more people play Loki, the better it is to have a good matchup into it. I'm not sure this is the best Pixie Mobius deck, more on that later, but I am happy to try out and figure out in day one what we actually want to do in this archetype, and starting at the baseline, which I do consider this the most generic version possible, is a very solid thing to do. One underrated aspect of this deck, though, is that it doesn't have to be a Pixie deck. When you look at how this deck actually matches up, if you don't draw Pixie, you can still play a bunch of good cards over the course of the game. It's not the best thing in the world, but you can be a reasonably effective good cards mid-range deck that just happens to have this combo stapled to it, and that combo happens to beat up on the thing that beats up on reasonably effective good cards mid-range decks, Loki. So then the question was, what weird, wacky, off-the-wall stuff could we try with the Pixie shell? And I saw this list on Untapped. I do not know who made it. They had an Echo in there. I did play the Echo, but after playing the Echo, I became very convinced that Nico Minoru was just better. And so Nico Minoru is in here now. This list is, again, sort of fusing the mid-range stylings of a typical kind of deck, the Thor mid-range deck in this case, with Pixie Mobius and a bunch of endgame big guys. I will say, I had a ton of success with this deck, and I think a lot of that, most of it actually, was people just didn't really play around Odin in a real way. And this is a very good Odin deck, because not only are you like doing like Odin Doom stuff, which is not necessarily expected out of what this deck is trying to do, you are also able to double the hammers, and people just don't really play around 24 power beta ray bills very well. It's a hard thing to do. And I think that is something that will probably get worse as we talk about this deck right now. Like, as I'm doing this narration, as it was on stream, people are now going to start being aware, hey, Odin is in this deck, I need to start respecting that more. I got a lot of cube equity out of people just not really respecting or playing around or even thinking about the card Odin, because he's just kind of not the most common thing here. Even though he does make sense, I think a lot of people wouldn't necessarily expect him, and that was very helpful to me personally. The wins that I won for high cube leverage situations, almost all of them were due to my opponent not realizing that they were dead because I was going to Odin some hammers. And I think that is a very potent strategy. One thing I will warn you about with this deck, though, is that its bad hands are like the worst hands you've ever seen. It has the worst bad hands of any deck I played today, by far. It's very much not a consistent deck, and very much is a high roll deck. Not typically the kind of thing that I would be playing a lot of, but I did want to try to figure out, again, like, we're in this Pixie Mobius space because other people are playing Loki. I have an obligation to try a bunch of Pixie Mobius decks, and this one was very successful for me. All right, y'all, thank you so much for watching. As always, I've been Cam Best. I hope you enjoyed this look at just what I've been playing on day one of the new season. These 4 decks combined climbed me about 100 SP. I was very happy with that. The majority of the climb was done with Loki, with a secondary large portion of it being done with the Thor's deck. I think the Thor's deck had the best cube rate. Loki had the best win rate, if I recall correctly. We're going to go to some gameplay here. I did receive some notes where, like, people are sick of me being, like, kind of salty on Twitch and kind of salty in my gameplay sometimes. I understand that, and it is something I try to work on as a human being, but it's a slow process learning to, you know, control my anger, control my stress, control what I'm dealing with. And so I hope that you bear with me as I attempt to improve in that way, as well as, of course, getting better at Marvel Snap. Thank you so much. We're about to jump into the gameplay. It'll be mixed gameplay this time. I will probably have to do timestamps so you know, like, here's a game that isn't Loki, right? Or maybe here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to put the non-Loki games on the beginning. Enjoy that. Thank you so much. I've been KM Best. You have been phenomenal. I will see you in the next one. One thing I don't like is people who go to my chat after they beat me and then be like, hey, that was me. I'm out here, like, you come in, you see me complaining about my draw, and you're like, I should tell him that I beat his ass. Ugh. Good morning from Germany, indeed. So does my bill still draw? Like, do I still, if I Jane? I do, right? Sure. I'm out. The Giga Salty constantly is tiring. That's great, and I'm happy for you, but I just don't really see why you need to tell me that. I'm a salty little boy. It's true. I'm hoping he just leaves. I'm hoping he just leaves because I think I could get shit on here, honestly. I did not get shit on. I got unshit on. I got unshit on. A salty little bitch. You can either deal with that or not, but that's the reality of who I am. Boy. No Mob. Whoa, he snaps me? Alright, let's do it. This either works really well or doesn't work at all. Wow. Does Profex suck now? I don't know. I'm happy Tanjo's playing White Queen, I'll tell you that much. Wait, I fucked up. I fucked up big time. Whoops. Wait, why? Because I should have Janed after Pixieing, right? I have a 1 in 3. I have a 1 in 3. To get Mobius here. Does this win? I went for the Mobius. If I'd gotten the Mobius, I'd feel great. Without getting the Mobius, I don't know how. Remedium Ferox, please don't use that word. Can you type !vanish for me real quick? There's an honor code. Tanjo's not a sniper, I just do this because I can. Alright, let's see what happens. Thank you, Ferox, I appreciate it. Holy shit. Okay, we're good. Okay. Let's fucking get it. Ooh, got this. They have one with Nico mid. Yeah. Absolutely. Yes. Well, I'm dead. No idea. Do I want to play this Wasp? I have no fucking clue. Oh, we got him. We did it, Reddit! Holy shit! They never expect the Odin! Oh my god. Oh my god, the Odin. Hacha. 27. Let's go. It is fun to look at. Holy shit. Wait, what? We actually have the Thor Bill Jane draw? Oh no, we have too many zeros in our deck for me to feel good about this. We need to draw a card we can play now. Gotta be a 2. Gotta be a 2. Come on, give me a 2. Oh, that's too many cards! That actually does sort of help. I'm not gonna lie. It's fine. Why Echo? It should probably be Nico. I just yoinked this deck from untap. It's kind of the extent of it. Or Ham is good. Wait, we actually draw the cards? Oh, no, thank God. I was worried. I was worried. There are a lot of good plays here. Nice, dude. However, however, fucking a billion. A billion. A billion! The Loki mirror is maybe the most full of shit thing that has ever existed. It's like snapping a New York. Yes. It's like snapping a New York. I would like to draw a 1 or a 2 drop, and I'm fairly likely to do it. Oh. Why leader look like he high IQ ass for real? Because he is. He's the highest IQ guy of all time. The size of his brain, galactic. Wait a minute. Don't I just always win if their most expensive card is on the left with leader? It's 17, but they move Nocturne out, and I don't have priority? How do I lose? They'd have to play something else bigger, too. How do I manage this situation? I'm fairly certain I still do this play, but, you know. It's got a big brain. What can I say? Magneto? We beat that. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. It didn't matter. We were fine. Stream's going okay. Huh. If I Annihilus now and they Annihilus the next turn, I guess I die if that's what they're playing. Oh my god. Nocturne may have just Omega sold. And by may have just Omega sold, I mean Nocturne just Omega sold. Nocturne just sold so fucking hard, it's unbelievable. They had me. Check is in the mail to our girl Nocturne. Yup. I realize it's probably stupid to not just play the red hole, right? However, I want them to think I'm snapping the... I guess it doesn't matter. You probably aren't staying in the game where I do this, are you? Yeah. Oh! Wait a minute. I'm dead? Do they have Shang-Chi? I really hope they don't. I hope they don't have Shang-Chi, because if they have Shang-Chi, I'm fucked, buddy. I'm fucked, buddy. Shang is not real and cannot hurt us. I hope this to be true. We're good. Shang-Chi was fake. You still have to play the correct way. If you play too risk-averse, that's worse. If you're always playing into that early and giving your opponent the information, that's worse. Strictly worse. You just have to accept that sometimes you lose games. It happens. You can't lose your mind over it. I know this seems weird, but I think it's right. Holy shit. That demon middle is crazy. Whoa, they left the New York up. I wasn't sure they would do that. Okay. What about the right lane? We're good, right? Yeah. So, I was never putting anything middle. If they hadn't matched my Thena, I would have said we were in a good spot. If there was a way for me to Shang-Chi their Thena, I would have said we would have been in a good spot. But neither of those things happened. And mirror dynamics, unfortunately, are like that. That can't be good. I don't know. What happened to Valentina? I'm not playing her in this deck, is what happened to her. That's just horrifying. Whatever's going on there is horrifying. Now I can move the Nocturne out. Oh my fucking god. Oh my fucking god. Oh my fucking god. Oh my fucking god. You cannot be serious. Okay, you know, I expected it to be cannonball shit, but sure. I guess the cannonball was middle. Nice. Hell yeah, dude. Fucking... I feel like I predicted that basically correctly. I don't think that's what you're supposed to do when you have that much good shit in the middle. You didn't know what Nocturne was gonna make? Oh, right. That's true. Sometimes you just do it for fun. I agree, Duck Doolittle. Good changes. We're happy with the changes today. For sure. Huh. I don't have to worry about that shit, then. You shitting me? If I Snowguard Hawk now, does it stay off, or does it happen after turn 4? Does anyone actually know? Okay, chat. I am not sure at all, for the record. I'm not even close to sure. Now if it turns on, do we just win? There we go. Cool. Cool. I don't know why I did that. That was dumb as shit. Hello? Undo all actions? Okay, if they're snapping this, what do we suppose it means? They just, like, Red Hulk left? No, they haven't shown me a Red Hulk. I think we win. Who was it in chat who said that? Oh my god, Mojo. This is a chat dub. This is... Is double cable a higher priority than playing Phenom? Honestly, it's entirely possible. Yeah, they see our plays here. Yes, under Supergiant. They see all of it. I'm going to just prevent them from seeing what I get off the raft, I think. Now, I also know what I cable, and they don't know what I cable. We should be good here. Because... I strongly suspect us to be good here. Yep. Doesn't even matter that none of our on reveals happen. We're good to go.